All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Connie, we should do our education first, please.
Lord, we thank you so much that you provide this place that we can come and discuss matters peacefully. We pray that you would guide our steps and give us wisdom in making all decisions, and would be with us. In Jesus' name, amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, are there any changes to the agenda? I would make a motion that the agenda be approved. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have minutes from the April 10th executive session, the April 10th work session, the April 11th regular meeting, April 11th public comment meeting, the April 16th joint special call meeting, and the April 16th joint executive session meeting. Are there any corrections to those minutes? Then I would make a motion that those minutes be approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sandy, you want to give us a financial statement, please?
This is the financial report for April 30th. Each department should be at 33% of their budget used. Departments over budget at April 30th are animal shelter at 35%, detention center at 36%, superior court at 40%, and juvenile court fund at 42%. Overall, we are at 22% of the total revenue budget received and 29% of the total expenditure budget used. Total revenue received to date, $4,919,705. Total expenditures to date, $6,553,705.
Are there any questions on the financial statement?
Sandy, I don't mean to complain, but my sheet doesn't match your numbers. Give me those numbers again, please.
On the
revenue side.
On the total revenue, $4,919,705. I think are you looking at the 2-year comparison sheet?
Yeah.
You need to look at the first sheet.
Okay, I am looking at the 2-year comparison.
Right.
So that's
It's the first spreadsheet that you get in your packet.
That's good. That's the explanation. I understand. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Sandy. At this point, we will do the citizens wishing to speak. Anybody that would like to speak on any subject, now would be the time. We would ask you that you come to the podium and state your name. Okay, if there is none, then unfinished business, discussion of possible action on equipment for the jury rooms. One of the things that I would like to pursue on that is, David, what city was it? Is it Gwinnett, right? Gwinnett County has got a pretty good system that's very inexpensive. And what I'm going to do is try to arrange with them a trip to their courthouse to actually see what they got. And if it's something that'll work for us, and be less expensive than what we've got going now, I would bring that back to y'all at our next meeting, and hopefully we can start making some progress on this.
That was something you brought to our attention, wasn't it, David, several months ago?
Yes,
Okay.
I've seen it in use.
Okay.
And, you know, it's for the presentation.
And I've got some of that info you gave me. Okay.
It would work here with this display. It's, I think it warrants at least going down and
Sure.
yeah, looking at it.
Sure.
Discussion and possible action of Old Buck County Road. Alex, you want to take that?
I'll just make a brief update on that, and if I summarize what we really talked about yesterday, if I get it wrong, straighten me out. But I think basically we are expecting to get some answers from the state and federal folks, and that's desperately needed, and we're not going to try to do anything that will interfere with that response, and that I hope it's real. I did mention, and I'll mention it tonight just for people's knowledge, I calculated how many days it's been since that happened, and I think it was 847 days. I remember the number. That's a lot of days to go without fixing a problem that the federal government declared as a...
There's yesterday, Dennis.
Oh yeah, I gotta add one more day, thank you. Here. I need one of those debt clocks that just keeps counting. But anyway, so that was one of the discussion, and Charlie gave us an update that was being looked at more intently supposedly than before, and taking more preference. That's good. The only other thing I think we really talked about was, could we improve the safety barriers and things along the road beyond the ribbons, and that's under discussion. I don't know where we actually ended up.
I had a conversation with Jim on that this morning, and the concern there originally was weight, and
Right.
the engineers have said it will sustain the weight, so that's no longer the concern.
Right.
Now the concern, and I think Jim was going to take some measurements as to whether,
And
you
I
want to
did.
address it, as to whether or not the
Good.
size of those things would interfere with the flow of traffic in the pit lane.
We went out and measured today, Commissioner, and we have 14 feet of actual pavement surface. The bunker blocks, or the concrete barriers that I understand was discussed yesterday, they are 2 feet wide and 6 feet long and 2 feet high. They weigh 4,000 pounds each. It would take 10 of those if we lined them up end to end. Now, if we take 2 feet off of the 14 feet that we have, we're down to 12 feet, and it gets very tight for a truck. And so that was the reason Charlie and I discussed the bunker blocks a long time ago, and it was my recommendation to him that we not install them. Now, one of the things that we can do, we can actually build a wooden barrier and set the poles in the slide area itself, not on the pavement, and it would not be more than probably 6 to 8 inches wide. Dallas, and we'll do everything. We check it to be sure that we are trying to keep it as safe for the motorists as possible. But the concrete bunker blocks would actually be a deterrent
I hear
to.
you. I hear you. I actually I didn't get a chance to discuss further, but I was a little surprised at that statement by the engineer and the engineering company. Particularly when he thought that would be able to do their construction work and still keep one lane open. And I really said, in my mind, I'm not sure that makes sense to me. That worries me. But I would tend to agree with you, Jim.
Yeah, at the time we were talking about trying to repair the slide, it would have been fairly easy. I don't know if you remember the engineer's schematics. It would have been fairly easy to keep one lane open, and because we would have been working mostly in the slide area. But with that being abandoned now, the slide repair and dealing with the road itself, I just believe that the motorist needs every inch of that asphalt that's there to be able to travel around it.
Yeah. I think, like you mentioned, in some alternative, maybe even adding a couple cables or something with that wooden.
Yeah.
Possibly. I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
not the engineer, but
Right.
It just sticks out there. In fact, I drove out there, I guess it was Tuesday, and at night, it would be, it's scary to me to come around the curve and see that and not realize, if I never had been on that road.
Most of the people are residents there.
Yeah.
They, unfortunately, they've come to know it very well.
Yeah, I know, okay, but I appreciate that, Jim.
Jim, if we build a wooden fence on the slide area, would we have to get a construction easement for that?
No,
Shouldn't know.
no,
We got enough.
we would build it on our right of way, Charlie.
Gotcha.
If you're looking at an edge, where the pavement stops,
Yeah.
part of our pavement actually sloped off in the slide. And what we would do is we would come with posts
You'd be
there
on that area.
and just put 2x8s or something like that and paint them orange and white or whatever to make it as visible as we can.
Okay, thank you.
I think that's a good step, Charlie.
Jim, too, I just want to let you know, and everyone, I am concerned, I would love to see something there. The tape is not enough, in my opinion.
Okay.
And storms keep taking it down. Something needs to happen to,
Okay.
thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Anything else on the location?
I think in mind, that's it.
Okay. Discussion and possible action on quarterly 2019 budget amendments. As I understand it, what we're going to do is take out any of the amendments that we discussed yesterday as regards to the funding for new pool, as those would be discussed in the special call meeting
Yeah, that's
on
true.
Monday the 20th.
No, that's true. Okay. Didn't interrupt.
No, go ahead.
I think the only, what we talked about yesterday for the general fund and for the capital fund, I think we're all pretty well in sync. I do have one question, and I don't see Director, oh, you're back there, Sarah. Only a quick question. We do have that ladder truck being repaired, and that number we have is a budgeted item. We put that under, or took that from the contingency
And the O, yes.
in M&O, but I went back, I think I wrote the number down. I went back and we still have, thank goodness for the work they're doing and things, we have a bunch of money left in the regular maintenance for vehicles remaining that is way more than the percentage-wise. We're, what, a third of the way through the year? And they got more than half, I think, left in that maintenance. So I wonder whether we can't just use the regular budget part of that. That's just a question, and I don't know the answer.
I would say that we could do that as long as we're fine with later on this year if that starts running out
Yes.
and extending it.
Yeah, I mean, we can't stop doing maintenance and
Right.
repairs, I agree. But I wanted to make sure I was right on that, Sandy. Do you know what's remaining in that particular line item for the fire department? I mean, we're already committed to making repairs and we're good on that. We're good there. It's just a matter of bookkeeping, I guess, that I'm looking at. It would,
At the end of April, there's 127,000,
how many?
127,000 remaining at the end of April.
What was the starting point on that, Sandy?
How much have we spent? And I thought I wrote that down, and I probably did, but.
We started with 154,000.
Yeah.
So far, $26,743 has been spent.
So we're way under
Yeah.
right now.
I don't have any problem with taking it to that line item as long as we understand that this is an extraordinary expense and we may have to do that later on.
Yes, I think and that's what I would like to know, whether that makes any difference to you or, we're not changing the amount of money that's there, but it is kind of, if we end up at the end of the year and not using what's in that repair for vehicles, I'd rather have that left over in the contingency than
Sure.
that.
I completely understand that. With our budget cycle, the way we've started the budget, we've had to start a budget cycle back in, right around February, we were trying, with the transition and trying to build the new transition team and whatnot. So with that, we developed a budget cycle, and in that budget cycle, we did not budget for this particular item. So that, absorbing that cost and that item within our maintenance and budget line item would be a little difficult to swallow. But I understand where you're coming from. So what we can do is we can monitor our expenditures throughout the rest of this year. And once we get into, say, second quarter, end of second quarter, third quarter, see where we are, and then come back and revisit that.
Yeah, if you've got basically regular, repetitive, preventive maintenance that you need to do and use that for,
Right.
well, I don't want to jeopardize that either, so.
I mean, with the ambulances, we constantly, and this is just the nature of the beast, with the ambulances running back and forth for transfers and patient care and whatnot, the turbos will certainly go on those, that we have those problems. So those are larger ticket items that we can't really forecast for those coming through. So when they do
Right.
happen, we'll just have to play it by ear, look at it, and then obviously if it winds up being an issue, I'll certainly come back and discuss it with you.
I think, Mr. Chairman, I think that's kind of follows the way we generally handle M&O amendments, is if they're going to run over, we do that. So that's just it's a technicality maybe, but does that work for you, Sandy, or anything bookkeeping-wise that would hurt?
I just want to make sure that we realize that there is an extraordinary expenditure there that was
Yes.
not anticipated, and
Yes.
should we start running short later in the year, we will need to
Absolutely
lose that
right.
line item.
I agree, totally. I agree, Charlie. Yeah. So, I think it's just a bookkeeping thing for you. It should not change I don't think you should ever change your schedule or your need for repairs or maintenance. If it impacts that, we don't want to do this, but, so don't not do maintenance if you're getting close. I mean, that's not what I'm trying to do, is not trying to hold it down.
No, I understand, sir.
So, we will have to keep, and you keep an eye on it, I would be fine.
And we may be able to work with other entities within the county to help absorb some of that cost of the ladder truck repair as well, which I've entertained with the commissioner, and we can cross that bridge here soon.
Sure, okay.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it very much, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So the.
I think that was my only question, Charlie.
So in the M&O, the only budget amendment would be,
It was at 5,000, wasn't it?
$5,000 for the radar.
Yeah, right. I think that's, that'd be fine for me.
Okay,
I don't think I have anything else.
and then we would, as part of the amendments, we would bring forward those projects that were funded for last year and were not completed.
Yes,
That would
Yes.
be the UPS replacement.
yes.
Remainder of the 2018 Elmy Ridgeway Church Road, and the $300,000 for the 2018 portion of the
Yes.
swimming pool.
In future discussions, when we get the numbers on those fuel tank removal stuff, is that an M&O change or is that a capital change?
In my opinion, it's a capital.
I'll defer to the experts, I don't know that answer.
Well, we have been proceeding on the assumption it's a capital
Right.
change,
Yeah.
unless David feels otherwise.
I'd like to involve Chris in on that discussion, because generally at the end of the day, he'd be the one that signs off on it.
Would you give Chris a call?
Well,
This is regarding the money that we're spending for having the fuel tanks, underground fuel tank sign closed. What's the name of that outfit?
North Georgia,
Oilman Services?
Oh, Oilman
Or
Services.
Georgia Oilman Services. Personally, I would think it's more or less of M&O. I wouldn't think it'd be a capital expense.
Jim, what did we have to do with the remediation for the kind of things we did up at the landfill? Was that M&O or was that?
no,
capital?
the methane, you talking about the
Well,
methane?
that was one of them.
No, that was a capital expense.
But they were building those. I mean, that was and or repairing or replacing. this is a removal. But again, let's just simply let Chris, make.
That'd be fine, that just, it was a question I didn't know the answer.
Hard to go wrong with the auditor.
Yeah, yeah.
Make the call.
When in doubt, ask the,
Okay.
I'm done.
Okay, the only thing that leaves is the, additional funds for the, UPS system for 911 for the labor, Q Public, and the Tabor House repairs. We had discussed each of those coming from the courthouse facilities fund. I don't know that would take a budget amendment. We just would agree that that would be the source of those funds because the budget, the funds are already budgeted
Right,
there.
right.
So what I would, I think, feel would be in order would be a motion to allocate $5,000 from the M&O contingency for the radar guns to move the 2018 uncompleted but funded items into the 2019 budget, and to agree that the source for those items, UPS system replacement and so forth, would come from the courthouse facilities fund.
Chairman, I think we added one more thing yesterday, and that was
We
$7,000.
added the administrator for $7,000, but that would be the same situation. It would come from the courthouse facilities.
Okay, okay.
The only thing that leaves is the $28,600 over and above the cost of removing the tanker truck from the fire department. What I would suggest is that we do nothing on that right now, because that is something that we're going to want to discuss as part of our funding for the pool in terms of
Yeah.
removing that particular truck.
And I agree with that, and I've given that some thought. I think we can find some ways to talk about that, so.
Okay.
We'll do it at our meeting, that's what I like.
So that will be taken care of in the special meeting on the 20th. And everything else that I just mentioned, I will put that in form of motion.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And I would like to emphasize too then that we will have a special call meeting on Monday the 20th at 6 p.m. And that will be to discuss the, or to finalize, I guess, some of these areas that we had discussed yesterday in terms of accelerated funding for the pool. And we've just added the $28,000 for the turnout gear and air tanks to that. Next item will be discussion and possible action of the airport RSA Phase 3 bids, along with land acquisition. Jim, is there any reason why the low bidder is would be not being acceptable?
No, the low bidder is acceptable. Our engineers have checked them out. They're a North Carolina company out of Robbinsville, Graham County Land Company, and they have a couple of working projects right now, and so it would be my recommendation that the low bidder be selected.
No discussion. I'll make a motion, actually, that we select the low bidder of Graham County Land Company.
Now, Charlie, one of the things that I got a copy of the letter that you received, and I forwarded it to David, and the instructions are subject to the notice to proceed. So that needs to be in the motion.
Actually, also.
Even, pardon?
Subject to the award of the grant too, so, I mean, that was.
Well, the letter was awarding the grant. I forwarded you a copy of it, and I read it today. It was awarding the grant, but the instructions to the chairman was not to do anything until we had a notice to proceed.
Yeah, I still would make it subject to the available.
And that's fine with me.
Because if you don't get the grant, for some reason something happens, and you won't have the monies to carry forward.
I would modify my motion to be, subject to the motion, notice to proceed.
I'll let you modify my motion.
Oh,
You go.
I'm so used to making motions. Go ahead, modify your motion.
So I'll reword my motion then, Charlie, to be accepting the low bidder and subject to the grant being approved and to the
Notice to proceed.
being available and approved. Okay.
And I will modify the second that I'm about to give to say what he said. Any discussion on that? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Resolution on 2019 tax anticipation notice bid. This one will be, we're looking at United Community Bank. And it would be the taxable interest rate. I would make a motion that we select United Community Bank taxable interest rate for the for our 10.
I'll second your motion. I do want to just note that that was for a $5 million line of credit.
Right.
That's it.
Up to.
We don't, up to that line of credit, so that's where we're at. But I second.
Second. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Appointment of a member to the Kids Cottage Board. I would make a motion that Merle Naylor be appointed to the Kids Cottage Board for a full term.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the first rezoning that we have is for Gay Buckley, A1 agricultural to A1 agricultural with conditional use. And I believe this was a farm winery.
Correct.
Karen, was there any opposition on this one? Okay. Personally, I'm fine with it. I would make a motion that it be approved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. I want to make one question for Karen, and I apologize. Do they have their home or residence on that property now? Is there any rule that about having your residence on the farm winery property? No? Okay. Okay. Yeah. For some reason, that came up one time, but I don't know what that's related to. David?
It's the tasting room that has to be separate.
Yeah,
from
it's,
a-
It's the
yeah,
tasting
it's,
room. Okay, okay, I'm good with it, we're done. Did we
All right.
vote? Okay, we're good. I haven't had sleep in a long time. Sorry, Charlie.
Okay. The next one is for E. Terry and Tammy Payne from A1 agricultural to A1 agricultural with conditional use. I believe this was a wild game seasonal processing facility. And I would note that this will not be a slaughterhouse. This is for processing of wild game that is killed elsewhere and brought to them. As such, I have no problem with it.
I have no problem. I'm trying to see where the change came. It's just adding a conditional use to that. It's not really a change in ag.
Right.
Okay, I'm good with it. You make a motion?
I did not, but I'll be happy to.
You do that, I'll second your motion.
All right, so moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Anthony G. and Kim S. Armstrong from A1 Agricultural to R1 Residential Low Density. This is to parcel property into the original lots. I believe all of the size issues are worked out. So,
We did have a condition.
okay, and that condition was the size of lots.
Yeah, it's 1.73, is that right?
1.41 was one of the lots, and the condition was that not be back in place, and they've had it resurveyed, and all of the lots are 1.5 or greater, and they all have access to one stock report.
So if you have a new plat,
I do, it's on my desk.
yeah, so do we have to worry about whether it gets recorded or
It'll be recorded tomorrow if it's correct.
we need to make that conditional, David?
It just simply needs to be conditioned as, trying to find the exact wording in here, but contingent on lot 13 remaining at 1.73 acres or greater is what the planning commission has recommended. And other lots being looked at on a case-by-case basis, which I really,
Well, now that's not what happened, because the lot 13 went from 1.73 to 1.61, and then the .12 went into the 1.4, which made it 1.53.
well, if that's not what's happened, then the minutes of the meeting are reflecting something different, because it says here, the planning commission action says, based upon evidence presented to the board and verification of sign posted and advertising in local Oregon, a motion to recommend approval contingent on lot 13 remaining at 1.73 acres or greater and other lots being looked at on a case-by-case basis was made by Alan Davenport and seconded by Paul Mooney, as well as a unanimous vote by the board. So that's, I kind of took it that was the intent.
Well, lot 13 was not the lot in question, though. It was the one next to it. I may have to listen to the tape again, because the one next to it was one that was too small to meet the 1.5 acre. There would have been no reason to have made them leave that at 1.73 when they could reduce it to 1.5 and meet the ordinance.
I'm just reading what's on the minutes. That's all I've got to go by.
Well, let me.
But are we bound by that, David?
Well, you're not bound by it, but I believe that you considered it yesterday, and that was the discussion. Without having any real idea as to what the subdivision is intended to be, I don't know that you want to make a decision without literally looking at
Would
the
you like me to go
subdivision
get the
plat.
plat? I've got it on my desk.
Yeah, I believe that that plat really should be available, but I sure would like to see if there's something wrong on the minutes. That's,
Earlier, David, in those minutes, it says evidently the applicant had stated that she plans on cutting out 2 acres for her son
and reverting lot
and
13.
reverting lot 13 back to the 1.73.
Yeah, is the lot 13 1.73, do you know, Karen?
It must have been
Not on the
greater.
new plat, it was on the old plat.
Yeah.
The new plat is
So-
not, and it was because of the one beside of it being too small.
So I just wondering, we should send back to the planning board?
Or make it contingent on this being.
Change the lot lines on the plat.
Yeah, I think it's gonna have to be contingent based upon what was the applicant requested and what.
They can take the acres from the other side rather than the 1.73 if they have to.
Yeah, I mean, I think if the plat fits what they had actually recommended, because if it doesn't, then maybe their recommendation would not necessarily been unanimous or approval of it.
And in reality, the planning commission did not look at the new plat.
Oh, there was no new plat available to look at that.
Right.
They were looking at the original survey.
So with tonight's action, I think y'all can move forward with approving it based upon the condition that the requirements that the planning commission had put in place and that the applicant had agreed to are detailed on the plat survey.
Yes. I would say
Are y'all
that's
okay
true.
with that?
I'll make that motion that we approve contingent upon the, not restrictions, but contingencies that the planning commission placed on that when they approved it themselves, which is to deal with the lot size on particularly lot 13.
Okay. I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Last item is to, Tom, you got the same ringtone I have, that's confusing me.
Yeah. You gonna talk to Ed Barber, or you gonna let Charlie talk to Barber?
No, I was gonna go call Charlie.
Okay, last item is appointment of 2 members to the Gilmer County Library Board. The first appointment will be to replace Patrick McVeigh, who will be coming off at the end of his term. And the requested replacement is Dr. Shay Likens. I would make a motion that be approved. I was thinking we should do them separate.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The second would be Jerry Johnson's term on the board is ending and he is willing to serve another term. So I would make a motion that Jerry Johnson be reappointed to the Library Board of Trustees.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I believe that we would have a very short executive session. David, would you anticipate with action or without?
With action and very, very short, 5 minutes.
Okay, we will have a short executive session, and I will make a motion that we go into executive session with action to be taken.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you, folks. We appreciate it. Are we good?
No, you're fine, David. You're Dallas.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, we come out of executive session
Second.
With action to be taken.
with action to be taken.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Who's gonna make the next motion?
Go for it. Ratify the contract.
I will make a motion that we as a commission,
The board, yes.
the board will ratify
Ratify
the
contracts for
contracts for
purchase.
of property.
Specifically, gentlemen, it's the 3 tracts of land out at the airport. One is identified as the Quarles property. You've heard it in some portions of discussions earlier meetings. The other one is the Garland property, and the last one is the Tig property. And now, when I say property, it doesn't necessarily include all of that property of those property owners. The Quarles is all of the property. The Garland is a portion of the property, and the Tig is a portion of the property. So that is what the commissioners will be voting on. And the details of those can be provided to y'all in the morning if you'd like.
Okay, we have a second on that?
Second.
No, okay, you second it. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.